In a world full of noise and endless distractions, the hardest thing to find is clarity. Here, we uncover the ideas, tools, and stories that help you focus on what truly matters so that you can live and work with purpose. I'm Stuart Hislop, and this is The One Thing Guide. Let me ask you this. Have you ever gone to bed exhausted? You've had one of those highly productive days. Well, you thought it was a productive day. You thought you've ticked off all those boxes, but when your head hits the pillow, you literally fall asleep. Your eyes close, everything just shuts down almost within a minute. And when you go into dreamland, you think this is going to be the best place ever. Only to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, so wide awake, and all you can think about is all those activities that you didn't get done. Damn, don't you just hate that? You see, when we start looking at our days, we have got absolute chock-a-block busy days. We start early in the morning, we're knocking off all of these particular tasks, and a lot of them actually, they feel like we're being productive. The truth, sometimes they're not, because they might be little sideline things that are just keeping us in distractive mode. But we get to the end of the day, and when we do this reflection, it kind of feels like I was really, really busy, but I wasn't actually productive. I didn't move my business forward. And the big thing here is we kind of sit there and we reflect on all of this incomplete, unfinished business, and it stays in our minds. And this is the problem that we actually have. There was a scientist, and this was back in 1920, because I wanted to research why does this happen. And this was actually a study that was back in 1920. It was actually a professor, and I'm hoping I get her surname right, but it was actually Zeigarnik, and she actually created this Zeigarnik effect. All right, she actually discovered this. Now, let me explain what this Zeigarnik effect is. The Zeigarnik effect is when you go to sleep or when you do something and you're reflecting, you will always reflect on work that you haven't completed. That actually becomes top of mind. Work that has been completed and ticked off, we tend to forget extremely quickly. You see, through her studies, what she got to realize is individuals that went through a day and did not complete a certain task, it always remained in the back of their mind. And it just went over and over and over, and they couldn't get it out until they actually completed. Now, the problem with that is, well, think about it. In your busy, productive day, what do? Most of the time, we don't complete everything. We get to about 80%, and then we move on to something else, and we say we're going to come back to it, and then we get to about 80% of that one, and we move on to something else, and we say we're going to get back, and all of this starts to build up and build up in our minds. And this is one of the reasons why, personally, this is what I got to experience. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I suddenly went, why am I awake? I was so tired. I was looking forward to a great night's sleep. And then I started to reflect, oh, but wait a minute. I needed to complete this. I need to send this email out. I needed to have this completed. I need to draft this. And all of this started to come into my brain. And I can tell you now, I was so wide awake. I could not get back to sleep. I tossed, I turned until I literally got up and I started to write everything down so that I could get it all out and then try and go back to sleep, which was probably around about 4:30 in the morning of 2 hours of tossing, turning, not knowing what to do, writing everything down. And as I start to doze off, guess what? The alarm clock goes off. And you can imagine how disruptive that can become for your day. So I took that with the research that I started to see. I wanted to understand, how can we correct that? And I did this for a personal reason, but I saw the benefit of sharing it with yourself. You see, if you can actually have a great night's sleep, when you wake up in the morning, it actually gives you this revived energy. But more importantly, when you start your day, you're not starting your day with about 3 or 4 pages of uncompleted to-do items. you're actually starting your day with a level of intention that actually gives you this level of motivation that you're wanting to actually go forward. So I'm going to share with you 5 actionable tips that I've actually now started to personally implement. And I can tell you now, over the last 2 nights, I've actually had a really good night's sleep. And I'm amazed how quick it was for me, how quick it was to actually get that little tick box off. So 5 actionable tips that I want to share with you. And they're very straightforward and they're simple. The first one, and this one is actually something that I've done for many, many years, but sometimes it sneaks in. And just like I've had at the moment, I'm writing out 38 different little lunch and learn sessions, and that's a massive task. You see, what we really need to do is turn these big tasks into very small, actionable items. So instead of trying to have this massive task that's on your plate, start breaking it down. Now, the reason why we do that is when the task becomes too big, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. We start it and we have a little bit of tension and resistance. And as we're going through, we actually feel exhausted. We don't actually have that energy to complete it, and it becomes incomplete. The bigger the task that is incomplete, the higher on your mind it sits. And it sits there on a continual basis until you have it complete, which means that little subconscious mind, when you're going to sleep, is going to go, hey, wait a minute, this is important. We need to have this done at 2 o'clock in the morning when you want to be sleeping. So what you must look at is take these big tasks. And the task that I do is I take that big task and I write down all the little activities in order to complete that big task. And it's the focus on those little activities is what I actually focus on. I finish that one. I give it a tick. I feel much great about it. I don't put the focus on that big task. I know that I'm moving forward as I'm going through it. So take these big tasks that you set yourself and break them into small, actionable items that you can actually complete within 20 to 30 minutes. That's one of the little secrets that I actually got to find. Don't have something that's going to take you 5 or 6 hours to complete. It must be able to be completed within 25, 30 minutes, because once you have that completed, you're actually going to start seeing how your mind starts to recognize, hey, we've done this. And at the end of the day, we completed it. We're not thinking about anything else. And you're going to start getting some better sleep that comes in. So that's the first one. Big tasks, chunk them down into those small little areas. The second one, and this one here, is you need to start to feel ready. Okay. For so many of us, and I do this personally, I'm standing in front and I want to start something and I'm going, I need the motivation to get me started. Well, here's a truth. Motivation actually starts when you start something. You see, you start to get into this particular task, and as soon as you get into the task, motivation comes second. Unless you've got someone behind you who's prodding you with a stick and saying, hey, you better go, you better go, you better go. You need to start. So don't get into this little procrastinating little hole where you're always going, I need the motivation to start. It's not going to happen like that. Motivation comes after you actually take that first step. And then suddenly you actually become like highly motivated to get it finished. So I want you to think of that. Don't think I'm looking for motivation. The motivation comes when you begin. You see, once you start something, your brain automatically says, I need to finish it. I want to finish this particular task. And it's that almost that brain's thought process of wanting to finish it that actually creates that motivation for you to go ahead and do it. In the beginning, it says, well, I haven't started, so why should I have the motivation? I have everything that I wanted to do is done. So we need to actually get into it. And then the brain says, let's finish it. And that's how we start to go through. Make it small and then just start it when you're starting to go through. The third one is something that I coach a lot of my clients, is putting your tasks into these time blocks. Okay, what I mean by time blocks, I already said, when you can see an actionable task that's going to take you 20, 25, 30 minutes to have it complete, identify a time. Hey, at 9 o'clock, I got 30 minutes, and that's what I'm going to do. Put it into your calendar so you have that reminder. 9 o'clock comes, you don't sit there and procrastinate, you just get into it, and you find that you're going to complete it. You see, when you take these actionable tasks and you put them into a time block, and I'm going to be very specific on this, it should be more than about 30 to 45 minutes on your calendar. Okay? If you start putting blocks of 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, you're going to start to burn yourself out. What you need to do is have these short, focused times where that activity gets completed. And I know you're going to say, hey, Stuart, but it's going to take me 2 hours to complete or write whatever. No, it doesn't. Write that as your heading. Break it down and say, what are the smaller actionable steps that I need to do to have this completed? So it could be something, but I need to write 3 chapters because I'm writing a book and I need to have all 3 chapters done. Or break it down and say, well, it's 3 chapters. There's the first metric. It's 3 different chapters. In each chapter, there could be something you want to write. Maybe it's 500 words per chapter. So it's breaking down 500 words and then saying, you know what? In 20 to 25 minutes, I could maybe write 50 to 100 words. And bang, there it is. I write 50 to 100 words. I can take my breathe and I can take my break. You see, one of the key things when you're going into these deep focus areas where you're actually concentrating to have something to complete, as soon as you finish it, you need to have a break. Whether it's just standing up, taking a deep breath, or just going for a quick little walk, and it could be 5, 10 paces. Maybe it's going to get a drink of water, maybe going to the bathroom, maybe getting a light snack. But taking that break just helps your mind to say, hey, we started, we finished. Relax. And then you can get on to the next. And something amazing starts to happen. When you start to chunk down and put all of these different tasks into these little time blocks in your day, what you start finding is you starting to tick off so many more. You see, when you originally looked at that massive task, you would say, I need 4 hours. Well, I can tell you, it's probably going to take you a week to have it completed. But if you break it down to these small little chunks, that actually takes it into almost like a jigsaw puzzle. Every little piece, one piece is going to be 20 to 25 minutes of my day. Have a little break, and then I'm going to hit the next one and the next one. What you're going to find is you're going to start ticking off so many, and before you know it, that big chunk, that big task that you originally wanted to complete, well, it's done and dusted. And you're going to start getting back into that great sleep. So make sure that you're taking that little time, putting it into a box, but make sure that you're having the break in between. Do not have them as continuity. You need to have that little break, and it could be 3, 5 minutes. I do that myself. As soon as I finish something, I get up, I go for a walk, I take a drink of water, and then I come back. It takes me 3 to 5 minutes, but I have this revived energy. It's like having closure. Now the fourth one might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but the fourth one, I started to do this once I didn't have that great sleep. I took this down and I said, you know what? I want to reprogram my subconscious mind to tell it I have finished it. I want to put my stamp of authority onto it. And I thought, well, how do I do that? I could just sit here and say, all right, it's complete. That's great. Give a thumbs up and move on to the next one. And then I thought, no, I'm going to try something new. It feels weird, but the actual feeling is amazing there afterwards. And it goes something like this. I've sat down, I've finished, and I go, oh my gosh, it is finished. I actually say it out loud. I actually make it like the neighbors are going to start looking at me. My poor little dog looks at me with eyes like this to go, what's happening? But what I found is when you actually celebrate your progress out loud and just say, I've done it. Yes. It's so amazing. You actually start to get almost this dopamine release. And it's this chemical motivation of, you know what, this is amazing. I can do this. And when you start getting into the next task, that level of motivation is at another level like you cannot believe. And you go through it and you start to cheer. You start to feel it. And this actually came back of just watching a sporting event. It was a rugby game. The guys won the actual game, and every single one of them, the crowd cheered. And in fact, we were sitting watching it, and we started to cheer. And that feeling was unbelievable. And that's where it actually originated from. I thought, well, why not? If I finish something, let's celebrate it. Let's actually do it out loud so that my subconscious mind can hear it loud and clear. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. Now, I've been doing this, and I can tell you now, it gives me this new energy. So I said it's going to feel a little bit weird, but even if you're in an office, maybe a co-working space, and you finish something, stand up and just go, I've done it. Yes. Watch everybody turn around, look at you, and you go, I've done it. Yes. I'm ready to do the next one, and start going forward. You find that dopamine starts getting into your system, and you actually feel absolutely great about it. It takes that little success and it makes it a big success, which is what we want as we're going through. So the fourth one I would say is definitely that one, which is the fun. This is the one that even if you do this one, I promise you, you're going to start seeing how you're enjoying the activities. You can even meet with a client, and as you walk out, you can actually do that fist punch in the air and say, I did it. And you start going forward from there. And then finally, this one here is a journaling. So tip and action number 5 is a journal. You see, what happens in our typical days, our days are long. Sometimes we're doing 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours, sometimes 12, 16, 20 hours in a particular day for whatever reason, because of pressures around us and coming into us. And when we go to sleep, those unfinished businesses, they still remain there. So what do we need to do? We needed a tool that actually can help us. Now, this is a tool that I remember, it was about 15, 16 years ago. I'd actually moved up from one province to another province, and I always woke up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I actually had a little notebook next to my bed. When I woke up, whatever I was thinking of, I used to write it down, head back on the pillow, and I would fall asleep. Maybe an hour later, wake up again and write it down. And I used that particular technique. I've learned it from a mentor many, many years ago. And it's this exact practice that I've started to implement, and I still use it today. And this is one I want to share with you. At the end of your day needs to have a closure time. Hey, I'm going to be working till 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever's that closure time. Because bearing in mind, you need to move on to family relaxing time and start to almost turn the engine off. But what do we need to do to make that transition? You see, for many of us, we come home, we sit down with our family, and our brain still carries on thinking. I need to send that email. I need to send that message. I've actually got to complete that project. Oh, yes, I need to do this research. And it just carries on in our thought process. And ultimately, we become disconnected from our personal space. In fact, we're actually putting in that professional environment and overlaying it into our personal space, which is not healthy for us, both for our relationships as well as for our health. So we need to have this closure. We need to have this level where we're going to make a transition across. And what we do is we actually do a small little journal at the end of your day. And I would strongly, strongly suggest I have one of these little notebooks. And at the end of every single day, up at the top, I write the date so that I can reflect it's today's date. And I write down everything that I know I have not completed. Every little item, because it's still fresh in my mind, I write it on the page. It takes me about 10 to 15 minutes. I read through it, I re-reflect, and I go, is there anything else that I have not completed? And I'll go through. Now, I'm going to share with you, over the years, it used to be 30, 40 items. It now sits at about 2 to 3 items that I haven't completed in a day. I write those down. Now, here's the great thing. When you write those down, your subconscious mind says, hey, I recognize that you've written that down. I like that you've written it down so that I don't have to remember it and I can relax. Yep, it can relax. And that's what you want. So writing down that journal entry of all the items that are incomplete, and you can be as detailed as you want, allows you to do something amazing. Allows you that when you get into the office the next morning, you can actually start your office and you can create a time block, which could be a prep and plan. Hey, review what I did not complete and put it into my calendar. Or it could even be while you're journaling the night before, saying, hey, I will stop this one at 9, this one at 10, and I'm going to do this one at 2. You can even put that into your calendar so that when you come into the office, you're not thinking, so what did I not complete? What is it that I didn't do? Because that's going to start to build, and it's going to create a procrastinating delay and distraction going into your day. So close your day with a 10 to 15 minute journal. That's going to help you to make that transition when you're actually starting to move forward into your particular day. And as I said, when I started, 20, 30 items, felt overwhelming. But as you're starting to go through, you're going to start programming yourself to only focus on what needs to be completed. That's going to help you to move yourself forward in your particular business. So when we start looking at these 5 actionable tasks, the first one, take those big tasks, those ones that typically take you 4 or 5 hours, break them down into smaller tasks. That's going to be very much bite size. Motivation only happens when you start. Just remember that. You're not going to get motivated by reading something and then start something. That's going to become a distraction, because when you start reading, you get motivated to read or motivated to watch Netflix once you turn it on. Just do it and you'll find that motivation comes in. Take those little actionable tasks, make sure that they fit in a box between 20, 25, 30 minutes and put it in that box. And once it's complete, make sure you take a small little break, 3, 5 minutes. Walk away from your desk, get the blood flow, get some refreshments into your body. The fourth one, the one that I absolutely love, is celebrate your progresses out loud so that everybody knows about it, so that you can actually get that dopamine release inside of you and it excites you as you're going forward. And finally, the fifth one is make sure that you're protecting the end of your day with a journal entry. 10 to 15 minutes. What are those items that you have not completed? And what are those items that you could then maybe put into your calendar to schedule the time ahead? It's when you start putting these in, you're going to start seeing that once you get to your personal time with your friends, with your family, which is more important, you can be able to turn down. You'll be able to be more in the moment with your family. Your health is going to become better. And you're going to start to go to bed and you're going to go, that was a great night's sleep, without having to wake up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and having to think, oh, I didn't do this, oh, I need to do this, and have those types of shocks that has a disruptive way for your actual business. Now, with every system, every one of these particular sessions, I always like to find some memorable quote to close it off. And this particular quote really stood out for me. Your brain doesn't need more pressure. It needs better closure. So I want you to remember that as we're going forward into your particular day, coming up to the end and having those great night sleeps, your brain doesn't need more pressure. It needs better closure.
You've been listening to The One Thing Guy. Remember, when you focus on what matters most, everything changes. See you next time.